Ensuring social justice and a decent standard of living for old people are the main challenges faced by pension reform in Ukraine. The pension contributions made by Ukrainians are currently among the lowest in Europe. Despite the fact that several attempts were made in Ukraine at what was called pension reform, it was not actually implemented. Those attempts included a band-aid approach, overlap in the balance and pre-election rise in pension payments. But deep reform of the pension system, understandable for society, has not taken place. Even today, a working person who still has 20-30 years of work before pension age cannot answer clearly what he or she have to do to survive on this pension tomorrow. Other experts recognize that there have been some achievements. In fact, legislatively justified steps have been taken, namely modernizing and indexing pensions under the solidarity-based pension system. Because inflation did exist, average wages grew, and the pension calculation mechanism was outdated.
Дещо осучаснити пенсії і, відповідно, сьогодні маємо середню пенсію за даними пенсійного фонду.
We managed to modernize pensions and accordingly the average pension is now 3,000 hryvnias. And the average wage has already exceeded 10. It's almost 11,000 hryvnias. According to international standards, the ratio between pensions and wages should be around 40%. That is, if you had an average salary before your pension of 10,000 hryvnias, then under the 40% ratio, your pension should be 4,000 hryvnias, which meets the international standard defined by Convention number 102, adopted by the International Labour Conference.
На межі міжнародного стандарту, який визначений Конвенцією МОП номер 102.
According to European standards, this covers 50-60% of lost earnings. In Ukraine, this figure remains at 30%. That is, the state falls 10% points short of global standards. But most Ukrainians have a pension of 2,500 2,800 hryvnias.
Так, були деякі кроки зроблені і по підвищенню пенсій військовослужбовців.
Yes, some steps have been taken to increase pensions for military personnel, but this doesn't solve the problem. The problem is only delayed. How is it delayed? Well, the insurance period has been raised gradually. It is increased each year. We remember the days when it was 20 years of work service for women and 25 for men. The bar has now been raised, 30 for women and 35 for men. And every year the years of work service increases by 1 year. That is, until 2028, the pension will go to such a distant horizon for many of our workers that they have to work to 60, 61, and then keep working till 65.
І так до 65.
Були скасовані так зване оподаткування пенсій.
The taxation of pensions for working pensioners was abolished. Among the negative elements was the cancellation of the raised coefficient of 1.35.
І це означає,
This means that the pension of those who retire later will be 25% less. All this was done in order to balance out the pension system.
буде менше. Все це було зроблено для того, щоб якось збалансувати пенсійну систему.
Why did it happen so? Because over the past 15 years, everyone has talked about pension reform. There were no reforms, only intentions to do so made by officials. The laws on compulsory state pension insurance and on private pension insurance were adopted in Ukraine in 2003. These documents set out a three-tier pension system, which included the solidarity-based system, the mandatory contribution system, and voluntary private pension insurance. Today there are only two levels, the first and third. One of the important elements is the contribution system.
По-перше, це ваші персональні.
First and foremost, it includes your personal contributions, and they depend entirely on you, not on the state. Therefore, your personal contributions are made up of the sums of contributions and the number of years over which they were made. In some cases, in some countries, you can receive these contributions ahead of schedule, which are a positive feature of this system. These are the contributions you paid in, and they are inherited, which means the state cannot take them.
Тобто вони не залишаються державі.
The primary task for the new government is to reform the pension system is adoption of the necessary legislation, which provides the division of supervision over the contribution system between the National Bank of Ukraine and the National Commission for Securities and Stock Market.
Оця обов'язкова накопичувальна система.
The mandatory contribution system was supposed to have started operating in 2006, but there were constant delays under various pretexts. out of time, crisis, and the like. Delays led to the following. If the system had been launched in 2007, then in the next 12 years people could have paid in contributions, even under conditions of current inflation, crisis, devaluation, etc. If such contributions had been put in, their pensions would be 17% higher. That is 30% from the contribution system and 17% from the second level could cover pensions. And these 47 or 45% would have given us the opportunity to say we meet world standards. A lot of time was lost, so pension reform has been gaining momentum only in recent years. Ukraine had a good chance in 2016, when the unified social tax was reduced to 22%. Instead of channeling this reserve into long-term contributions, the government presented employers with a gift, expert Alexander Tkach says. But hopes for developing corporate pension programs failed. There was no miracle. But even today, in conditions of war, shocks, inflation and crisis, private pension funds continue to work. And the top 5-10 funds give a return that even exceeds inflation. So the private pension insurance system should become the basis of the second level, as was planned from January 1st, 2019. In my opinion, pension reform should begin with a powerful campaign to raise awareness for citizens of Ukraine. The work of the mechanism should be explained so that people feel secure about their pension. And of course, this should be accompanied by the creation of all the necessary tools. This is pension reform in my understanding of the term. So the Ukrainian government is striving to introduce a new 3-level pension insurance model. As a result of this reform, pension calculation rules will become clear, transparent and updated for Ukrainians. The granting, recalculating and paying out of pensions has been simplified and the e-pension service has been introduced. Legislative changes are being prepared, enabling the calculation of the number of years of service automatically, and the earnings ratio will be set at the pensioner's request.